Well, we're right in the middle of rebuilding the front suspension. I got all the other stuff knocked off. New ball joints for the top. I got new lower control arms. Bought them years ago. Just now using them. I usually put Mustang 2 suspension in them or AJE or something along the lines of that. But this car's a budget build, so we're going old school. Yeah. We on a budget. Why is that stuck in there? Can't get my nut off down there. Anyway, I'll get all that off. We got our engine bay painted. We just got to get everything put back together. Alright, so when you're doing your budget build fastback or coupe, it's a good idea to take these apart. If you're on a budget, reuse these. If they're not broke, rusted out, reuse them. These will just, these right here, they just screw out. Clamp you a pair of vice grips on this, like so. So you'll clamp your vice grips on that. You'll take your pipe wrench and screw these off. Somebody's done wised up and put the 90-degree Allen mounts in these, so that's good on this side. The other side don't have it. So I'm gonna clean these up real good on the inside and out. If your threads are good on this shaft, then you're okay. If your threads are gone and it's slick on one side, then these are no good and you're SOL. You have to buy new or go find you a used one. In my case, they're okay. So I'm gonna clean them up, screw them back in, reuse them. When you get them all rebuilt, it's a good idea to put you a tack weld, just a small tack weld on this to ensure that this right here can't back off. The next person will have to come in there with a cut-off wheel and cut your tack, but it'll be all right. So I'm gonna clean these up and get them rebuilt, sandblast these and paint them before I rebuild them. Whew, I'm about an hour into this so far. Like I said, I got all the suspension off of it, and I've actually started going back together with this side. New lower control arm. I cleaned the radius arm up and painted it. I didn't take the sway bar off. The bushings looked okay, so I didn't take it off. I just cleaned it up under the car and painted it on the car. Scraped off all the loose factory rubberized undercoating. Scraped that all off, blowed it all off what I could get off. And I went back in there and I think it's by duplicate. I've got one coat on it. I'm gonna go back over with some more. I ran out. I'm gonna get some more of this. It's pretty good stuff. It sticks really good. Like I said, scrape all the loose off, blow all the loose off, and I go over with a wire brush. And anything that's rusty, sand it, and hit it with some sandpaper, like 80 grit, and then go back over with bed liner and she's back like factory again. So I'm going back together with it. I got my spring paint sanded and painted. I got the shaft that goes in the upper A-arm. I got it painted. And of course I've got this. I put this in a sandblaster and it didn't do much good. It's so pitted up. But it's painted. I wish I had a way of powder coating this kind of stuff, but I need a small powder coating setup, but maybe one day. You see all these pits? That's after I sandblasted. It's still pitted up. There's nothing wrong with it. It's pitted. I was going to give y'all a little tech tip. When going to the store to buy your paint, make sure you buy paint that stays sticky all day long. It's been out in the sun drying for a good 30 minutes to an hour now, and it's still just as sticky as when I first sprayed it. So you know what? I'm gonna put it together sticky. It just have my fingerprints all in it. I don't even care anymore. This little tool right here, my dad made this tool. Press the springs. I made one, he said it wasn't too safe, so he had to redo it. Fine with me, as long as I get to use it. These spring purchase are tight. pot of beans and you got no beans, honey.
I get on my own nerves. What's up, Debbie? What are you doing, honey?
Don't miss me.
When we get dirty now, I'm sure you're gonna jump right back in the bathtub though as soon as we miss it.
Bolts, washers, nuts. You can see I have gotten a little. It's been hot. I ain't felt too good. Oh, new spring saddles are on. We sandblasted the springs, control arms. I wound up having to get a shaft for the center of this one because it was wore out, and the cups that goes on the end. Luckily, my dad had some in his junk pile. His junk pile is like my Barney bag. I just keep going in there and getting all kinds of stuff out of his junk pile. But I cleaned them up, back together. Luckily, the brake lines look good. Blow through them. It's got new upper ball joints. New lower ball joint. Actually, new lower control arms. I had these in my. I've had these under my shelf in there for years, and I hadn't ever used them because I don't normally use the factory suspension on these cars anymore. I always go aftermarket, like Mustang 2 or AJE, something along the lines of that. So this is the first one I've done with stock suspension in a while. So we got new sway bar bushings. I set the length on the radius arms, so they're both the same on both sides. The idle arm was good. Somebody replaced it. I got a cheap cylinder off of from Auto Obsessions from eBay. Cleaned up the drag link. I rebuilt the power steering assist control valve. I got a cheap kit, like a $50 kit off eBay. That was the first one of them I'd ever rebuilt, and let me tell you something, it was pain in the hind end. I need to touch my bolts up. I took my steering box apart, cleaned it, and re-greased it. I wouldn't have done that, but my being a dummy, when I sandblasted it, a bunch of sand went down in it because it didn't have the steering column tube on it. So I had to take that apart, clean it, rebuild it. Well, not marketplace rebuild. Cleaned it, re-greased it, put it back together. The booster and the master cylinder come from Pull and Save. It's a junkyard, kind of like a pick and pull. The master cylinder came off of an old Thunderbird, and the booster came off of a Fox Body Mustang. The two matched up perfect. This car already had disc brakes on it. This came off of a disc brake car, so we're good to go. I made me up some lines, some El Cheapo lines. It was just a roll of 3/16 line from O'Reilly's. I made me some new lines, reflared them. I gotta take this back apart. I'm gonna clean. I checked the booster. It holds a vacuum. It's good. I'm gonna clean this up and re-black it out where the paint's all flaked off. So our brake situation is just about completed. Only thing I got to do now is I'll have to run a new brake line to the back. I'm gonna put some new wheel cylinders and brake pads on the back. I've got them already, just stuff that's been lingering around the shop. It didn't have this bracket in the car, and this one's not the best in the world. It'll work. I don't particularly like it because these are broke. It's got a little place knocked out of it right here. Right here. But the bushings go in from the inside out, like the little plastic bushings. You'll get a bushing pushed in here, bushing pushed in there. And the brake pedal's got bushings in it. And then, of course, you slide your pin through it. And this part of it's fine. So it should be okay. I'm going to keep looking, see if I can find another one of these, because this is the only one that I've got right now currently. And it ain't the best in the world. I might go over and look in Dad's junk pile and see if he might have a little bit better one. But I got to get that up in there. And the only thing I had to do to make the Fox body booster work on this 67 car is I had to re-drill 2 of the holes lined up perfect. I think it was 2 holes over here I had to drill. And I think I had to open up a hole on that side just a little bit. And the great big hole that your booster goes through, had to open the very top edge of it up just a little bit with a Dremel. But, so I got to take this back off. I can clean that up, bolt that in the car, and then drill my hose through the firewall into that. And I'll have to drill out the threads on, I'm going to say probably 3 of these. I'll be drilling the threads out because the studs on the booster goes through them instead of bolting it to it. It's going to have studs that comes through it with nuts on the inside. So that'll be all Ford. The brakes will be all completely Ford. None of that GM aftermarket junk. I have a lot of trouble out of that GM garbage. So I got a factory Ford master cylinder, factory Ford booster, factory Ford proportional valve, factory Kelsey Hayes disc brake setup with disc Kelsey Hayes rotors. The brakes on this car should be top notch. But that's where we're at right now. The parts are trickling in a little bit at a time. Cheap eBay radiator. We got our oil pan right there. We got rear spring shackles came in. They're right there. I don't know what this is. Oh, that's my rear brake hose. All this stuff is cheap. This is cheap stuff that you buy off of eBay. Or eBoy. I don't know if I'm allowed to say eBay on there. Am I? I have no idea. I call it eBoy. But yeah, there's that. I'll get a little bit more done and I'll show you my progress. Well, I had Little Man clean these up. He sandblasted these and painted them. And we did that for no reason. I ordered some. These things were like dirt cheap online on eBay. And they come with new ones. I don't even see how they could sell this stuff so cheap. This was like $50 for like all of this stuff. 50 something dollars, and I got inner and outer tie rods and the sleeves. Cross your fingers and your toes that it starts, because I don't want to have to drag it out. Oh, carburetor. I'm not pumping any fuel, so it won't be good. Come on, buddy. hate to say it, but we're parting this old girl out. Pulling the running gear out of it. Everything's disconnected except for we're going to pull the carburetor off and bolt the motor plate to it so we can pull the motor out. It's lift plate. So he's got everything loose except for that. Got 2 more nuts on this side he's got to take off. And he can bolt the motor plate on. Only thing left underneath to take off is the drive shaft. I'm getting ready to jerk it off right now. Got me 12mm 12 point. This thing will be out here in a minute. Right there. We still got change over. Alright, we got the $500 Fox body drivetrain jerked out. As you can see, it's got a new C4. Of course, it's dirty. But that was rebuilt, all new, all kinds of goodies in it. This motor is actually a new reman motor that I'm pretty sure doesn't have a whole lot of miles on it. I don't know if y'all can see that, but this thing is brand new. Those pistons, nice and shiny. So, since we're going from a late model to old model oil pan, late model will be the rear sump, old model will be the front sump. We got to change out our oil pickup tube. So that's what I'm doing now. Getting ready to bolt this bad boy on right here. And then we're going to put our oil pan on and get it back in the car. Well guys, here we go. My little boys will be like, you put that in without me. Well, should have been outside. Not here with me. Oh, transmission cooler has just been like all day long getting rolled around. I still got to take these hoses off and replace them. I got a heater core ordered. Be here today at 2 o'clock. I got to clean the alternator up a little bit. Start buttoning everything back up. I don't know how long this car's been off the road, but I'm going to say it's been a long time. Decades. Well, the $500 Fox body's leaving. Pulled the motor transmission out. Sold the rest for $1,000 bucks. Bye-bye Fox body. That's $1,000 towards the Eleanor.